I'm starting to suspect that the issues of modernism and the sexual revolution have roots in the Enlightenment. How can we as Catholics effectively subvert and destroy or uproot the fundamental evils of the Enlightenment from society?
I don't know.
That's $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. I have no idea. You tell me and we'll both know. Um, I mean, knowledge is power, they tell me. So I suppose knowing that is a help. You've got to begin to root out in your own mind the spurious things brought to us in the Enlightenment. But of course, I have to admit that there are things that went on during the Enlightenment era that I'm all for. Rococo comes to mind.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. It's difficult.
This is one of the first things that I think is involved with Catholic red pill. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of those things where you're starting to look at the broader world and history, where we've been, and trace how we got to here, and you say, wait a minute, whoa, the Enlightenment, okay. And so that seems to be where Mr. Fugu is here.
So he's getting red-pilled.
He's getting red-pilled. He's in the process of getting red-pilled.
We don't want red pill poisoning.
We don't want no, that's too much. That's, yeah. So just moderate doses, But there are some arguments against the Enlightenment that are plain to see. Because we've done the Enlightenment experiment, and we see the fruits of it. Like, with Kant,
we're living them.
We're living them. I mean, Kant's whole ethics, we live based on Kant's ethics, which means
we all live in our heads, totally independent from everyone else.
Yeah. Are there universals? Can you get to a universal ethics without reference to God or religion? And he believed, yeah, you can. Everyone can universally agree. Now, to be
everyone
fair,
can universally agree, although no one can be assured of the existence of anything outside themselves.
So, but to be fair to Kant, at that time, perhaps it might have seemed more reasonable, where you don't have the same ills as you do now. I mean, obviously, it's a grave error. I don't.
It's a grave error, and he was a brilliant man. Although, errors done by dimwits generally don't go very far. The thing is, with Kant, with Locke, with Hume, Hegel, with a bunch of thinkers from the 17th, 18th, early 19th centuries, you have this idea, this quote-unquote idealism, which makes the ideal more real than the real. And it's ahistorical. So, for instance, if you look at Hobbes, you look at Locke, you look at Kant, you look at all these guys, and you look at their idea of the state. They all have this totally ahistorical notion that sovereign individuals gathered together and decided to, basically to mutually give in their power to the state.
Yeah.
That never happened. That's not how countries came about. It's totally made up.
Well, I guess that's what I was kind of getting to, is that this is theory, and now seeing the fruits of this theory, if these philosophers could and say, oh, okay, wow, by universal consent, abortion is legal everywhere, maybe, like, oops, I was wrong. Because I wouldn't think that these people, at least in general, were in favor of abortion back then. I think they would view it as barbaric. And so...
I think a lot of these fellows would have... I think if they could have seen where their ideas were leading them, as you say, they might have felt rather differently to it all.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, They'll never get that chance.
Yeah. So.
So.
Okay. So I guess we're not going to even try to answer the question, like, how do we...
Well, I don't know what to. I don't know what to tell him. I mean, obviously, this is something I've been wrestling with my whole life. How do you get people to see the danger of it? Well, you identify what's wrong and you do your best to get people to see it. Well, how do you do that? You write about it. You speak about it. I mean, and of course, you point out the concrete applications of these things. I mean, the influence that they had on the American Revolution, the French Revolution, abortion, everything. But there is not a simple, easy answer to the question he asks, and so I can't give it.
Okay, I'm just going to try to reach for something on this.
Make everybody good.
Something. Is philosophy involving natural law, would that be some sort of antidote?
No, sure, it'd be a partial antidote, because, of course, Kant and the rest of the Enlightenment deny natural law.
Interesting.
So they deny anything. They deny any pre-existing order to which all men must submit themselves. They deny the transcendent. But it's hard enough to get people to see that that's wrong, because that's the world we've come to live in.
So were they naturalists? Like, what? I mean, were they materialists?
In a sense, except that for a lot of them, and certainly for Kant, the material world was not as real as what's in your head. And we see that today. We see the bastard reflection of that is in the whole gender issue. I think I'm non-binary, therefore I'm not.
That's very true.
That is Kantianism done by a cray-cray.
Okay. Well, I guess the best we can do is just live our faith according to order and principles. And
I don't got anything else.
That's all we can do. It's just one error. I mean, how do you peel back some of how do you roll back any of these errors? You know what I mean?
Well, in the end, what's going to have to happen, I think, is that we're simply going to have to ride this pony till it dies. In other words, as we are beginning to see now, the consequences of these false ideas will, in all likelihood, have to play themselves out until their wrongness becomes so obvious that even those in charge of society or those who succeed them realize it. And
okay, let's. You immediately reminded me of a related question. We've got a couple years back. It was a very interesting question relating to the lifespan of very big heresies.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? That was a good one.
Yeah.
Where the questioner seemed to find the trend that heresies die out. Each big heresy, it took about 500 years to die out.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so we're kind of there in terms of Protestantism.
Yeah, but we're not there anywhere near there in terms of the Enlightenment. If we gave it a 500-year, let's take 1720 as the starting date of the Enlightenment.
Okay.
1720, 1820, 1920. Yeah, we got a good 300. 2020. We have a good 200 years left.
I guess what I'm sort of railing at or hoping against is that you seem to suggest that it's going to take a catastrophic end Whereas
Yeah.
perhaps the decay of Protestantism wasn't, it's not catastrophic in a sort of physical war, social, gosh, I don't know if I want to say social disruption or social disorder, because we have abortion and all these other things, but it's not like rioting.
Not yet. But for instance, if we start having rioting because of the economic downturn, which is shortly going to drop on us, would that be a part of the process? Maybe. I don't know. Who's to say? We'll find out.